Okay, well, happy Veterans Day, everybody. Got another installment of the Grocery Getter Road Rage Enforcement Carpool Lane Destroyer. We got all the paint polished out really good. You can't see it's a really good shine, but it's kind of dark. In daylight it really pops. But like I said, it's two-tone rust and candy apple primer. We got our front bumper, we're starting it. It's actually going to have some sliders inside these pipes that are going to slide down. So it's going to have 3 other pipes in there, more than likely. We're not sure yet, but they're going to be able to slide down almost to the ground. So it's only be like a cow catcher on the front of a locomotive or one of those Australian trucks that the semis that have the big cow catcher on the front. We got a little cute hood ornament. It's one of the Teletubbies that killed all the other Teletubbies. So got our extra fenders. This is for sitting a couple of caramel lattes or green tea rice espressos. You know, you can sit them up here, and the back one's gonna be I'm gonna try and hook the exhaust, go through the inside of the body and come into a pipe actually inside through the fender, and this will come down actually further, and the exhaust is actually going to come out here and blow down on the ground. So if there's anybody tailgating you on a dusty road, you can just throw it neutral and rev it out a couple times and dust them out. So but these will actually be able to stand on. These are steps. We got our weapons on here because we're going to use it for landscaping, so you'll be able to chop down the weeds and pick some tomatoes. And we got our door handle, grab handle, and climbing accessory. Let's see what else we got. We got a third brake light for safety, and pretty much all the weapons we would ever need. Everything's pinned and locked. So we get out to the event, or if we're driving on the way there and we stop at a gas station, somebody is harassing us too much for some extra cash, we can give them an extra gash, give them 2 foreheads. So but everything here has a purpose. We've got this is a sundial in case, you know, we don't have a signal and our watches run out of wind. We can stick this on the roof and use the roof as a sundial. There's noon through 4 o'clock on those. So, and of course, I was talking about the waffle iron we've got, and salt and pepper shaker, and then we also have our cheese graters, and and we got our shift knob we're gonna make here out of this. So it's gonna be able to probably hold a little Starbucks Frappuccino in there. So, and then we got some extra mock-up hood ornaments, or radio knobs. But just wanted to do an installment on Veterans Day. I got the BOB car out. I was driving around because they have a couple memorials in town, so I figured I'd go out there and get a little patriotic. So hopefully this car is going to be painted all one color or a different color. It'll be a surprise because I still haven't decided what to pick yet, but it's definitely not going to look like a police car that much anymore. And then of course, this is the car I was going to put this body on a 2015 Ford Interceptor Patrol sedan. I've got, that's a twin turbo EcoBoost all-wheel drive Taurus that was a Wyoming State Police / Highway Patrol. It has about 60 or 70,000 miles on it, but it's the one that got squashed by a big rig. If you look up on YouTube, police car squashed by big rig or crushed by big rig or whatever, you'll see the donor car for the chassis. That car, even though it looks like it was made into a pancake, it actually wasn't crushed. It still runs and drives fine. I've got videos of it. And this wheelbase of this body and the track width of this body is almost perfect. This car here, or what's left of it, is a 1954 Dodge Coronet Suburban Safari wagon. So it's a two-door station wagon, and it had some rot in the floor, and somebody cut the rot out, and what's left is actually just about what I need to be cleared of the floor on the Taurus, or Taurus. So so it still has the floor pan back here, and under here is where the spare tire goes, which is actually the same place the spare tire goes in a newer Ford Taurus. And it's even offset almost to the same position that the spare tire in the floor pan of the Taurus is. And since the police Tauruses and the Explorers, they have a unibody, what they did is they put a steel, like, roll cage, I don't know how to call it, but it's an internal extra structural support, because having a unibody car as a police car, it has to be able to be not only pursuit rated and certified, which means there's a rigorous testing that's done for those cars to be able to travel at high speed for extended periods of time. I don't know specifically. I think they're supposed to be able to handle in excess of 100 to 120 miles an hour for, I think, a half hour or 60 miles. So it'd be 120 miles per hour for a half hour, or 60 miles at 100 miles an hour. I don't remember, don't quote me. But so it's a heavier duty car than your standard Taurus. In other words, older cars that used to be made into convertibles, if they were ever unibody, you'd have to put extra structure under them, kind of like a Camaro or a Mustang that didn't actually have a frame under the body. They have to have extra structural support so that if you take the roof off, which is actually a stressed member of the car, you don't end up interfering with the integrity or complicating the integrity of the vehicle, which is going to work out good, because this isn't the exact same type chassis. I'm going to try and match it as close as possible. What I'm going to end up doing, just to give you an example, is if there's where the rocker panel stops on the bottom of the vehicle, is actually going to have some angle iron on it. This isn't angle, but it's the best way I can describe it. Is I'm going to put angle iron inverted on the inside of the chassis or body of this vehicle here, and then I'm going to have an opposite piece on the actual chassis of the Taurus, and one is going to lay on top of the other. So it's actually going to end up making two pieces one, and it won't be able to slip on or off of the chassis. I'll be able to slide it forward and backward to line up and get the wheel positioning right. This here is actually, I don't know why it's bent out a little bit, but this car is really strong. So I'm not concerned about the car not being strong enough or the donor chassis being strong enough. It's that just one's going to be possibly stronger and wanting to move and flex at a different rate, because this is the steel that this car is made out of is actually a probably thicker and stronger steel than the chassis and the body of the 2015 car. This car was made in 1954. So all this metal is like a higher quality metal. It probably doesn't have the rust inhibitors in it that are as effective as a newer car, especially something in 2015. But the metal is thicker and able to take longer to rust through than a newer car with thinner metal that has more rust inhibitors in it. So it's kind of like the Titanic compared to, say, some new frigate or tanker, like a super tanker these days. The super tanker, the technology of metallurgy and all the processing of the steel is of a higher quality and durability, so it doesn't have to be as thick, whereas the older steel might be thicker and more substantial. But things like this, I think this is a crack actually. This is kind of a stressed area here, considering the chassis the body isn't sitting on a dedicated chassis. So things like this are going to be more prominent on thicker metal, which is why, you know, the Titanic actually split and shattered per se, where a new super tanker would flex and form around an iceberg, more like an aluminum can, where the Titanic, of course, the temperature of the water, the temperature of the steel, made it almost like a big thick chunk of glass. So we've got what you would say would be the Titanic upper on the newer, more svelte, if you will, chassis. These two vehicles are going to have to be mated together in a realistic way so that they don't really argue with each other. And that's the best way I can put it. Oh, look at the moon. We got the sunset and the moon. Well, no more sun, but when I was driving here I still saw some sun, but they were just almost simultaneous. One was almost down beyond the horizon, and this one is just now coming up. Probably could have gotten it when I got here, but anyways, that's the story on possibly the next installment of Mad Max car, because this one's actually going to end up being a Mad Max car 2, or maybe just a retro rod. But I kind of got a feeling it's going to end up with a little bit of extra parking lot protection. So God forbid somebody opens their door and too close to you and gives you a door ding, you know. Who wants that? All right, well, as this thing evolves and grows, literally, we'll definitely keep you in the loop. So I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching.